has your interest in data increased? And they didn't say a little, they said a lot. That's a very strong improvement in their learning there. That's great.
And that's good because we need more data engineers as well.
Yeah, so. The world does. Yes. G'day team, Adam Cogan here from SSW, and today we're talking all things databases, data warehouses, data lakes, and I have Piers Sinclair. How are you, Piers?
I'm great, and I'm really excited to be talking about this subject.
Good, because you've looked through it all. I haven't, but I was involved in getting all these questions together. So I'll give you a bit of context. We have a whole bunch of .NET developers here at SSW. They know .NET really well, and front ends, Angular, React, etc. But they use databases all the time, but they're not heavy into databases. So they're not heavy into warehouses and data lakes and unstructured data. And this is becoming more and more important with Microsoft Fabric. So we wanted to go on a learning journey, and essentially we asked them a whole bunch of questions. We'll talk about what questions and what results we got. We asked them to read a few rules on data storage. Then we had some more questions about warehouses and when you should use different types of databases, more questions, and we'll go through all that. So that's kind of what we want to talk about now. So let's start with where they were a month or so ago, and I'll have a quick look at the rule for you. So there's that video. Just read about databases, warehouses, and data lakes. And this is essentially where we want to get to. We want to have them pull in all this data, go through the ETL process or the ELT process, create their reports, and also have the ability to look for insights from data scientists. So let's go and have a look at the comments. I know you've had a look at these comments. I haven't. So anyone's stand out to you?
Yeah, I think Jake had a great comment.
Jake? Oh, there we go. Without having used a data lake before, they seem like they'd be very messy and give me shivers. I'll need to see it in action. So he's basically saying, throw all this mess of data together. How are you going to query that? And if you're used to, Power BI, the structured database, yes, sounds like a mess. Now, Bryden says they require discipline. Many of them have logical structures, containers, so you keep, cleaner the structured data away from all the polluted, unstructured data. So, great answer there.
And I think that's why it's so important to have strong data guys, because they make sure you do the data lake in the right way.
Right.
If you've got guys that are not strong at the data, then you might end up with a mess in your lake that you've got to clean up later.
Yes. And if you're thinking, look, I've built a lot of reports before, I use structured data, whatever data I have, I put into a structured way to do reports, then essentially what you're going to do is you're going to miss out on a lot of data, because there's a lot of data in your organization that's just not in a structured format. You've got Google logs, you've got logs from websites, you've got, just data everywhere in an organization. So any other ones worth calling out here?
Yeah, I think NCN, which is Nick Curran.
Oh, yes, okay. Nick, all right, he says, given that data lakes require proper governance and metadata management, there is likely to be a lot of business arising for the need to rectify the mistakes of the early adopters.
Yeah. So if someone's done the wrong thing, then that's when they call us to get us to come in and fix the problems.
Yes. Yeah. I might just, I just saw Warwick's comment here. I might call this out as well. I've done lots of data analysis over the years. Mostly I did all the ETL, that's the extract, transform, load into a warehouse, just from SQL views and then I reported on it in Power BI, often bringing other sources such as CSVs and JSON data in. Unfortunately, at the time, it was working for a school which wouldn't have justified the extra cost of a data warehouse, but he's super excited to look at Fabric. And that's...
Fabric's going to be a game changer. It's going to bring all the products together and remove all that Azure Infra problem. And it's just going to be really easy to do data stuff.
Yeah. If you remember when we got Power BI, one of the big things was you could pull some data in and get it in a report. And James Phelps, the owner of it, he used to talk about 5 minutes to wow. Now, with a warehouse, you used to have to spend like a week or two, or sometimes it was a month-long project just to get the data warehouse ready. Now you've got the same 5 minute to wow. You go into Azure, you don't worry about infrastructure, you get the thing created. So some great comments there. Let's go through the responses. I know you've been through them in detail. Do you want to give me a bit of a summary of your findings?
Yeah, I've actually compiled some data here. Most of our devs, they've used databases, but almost none have used data warehouses or data lakes.
Yes.
So it would be great if we had some people upskilled in that area.
Yep, that was to be expected, yes.
Yep. And very few devs have worked on ETL processes, which might be surprising because that's very common, especially back in the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's still there, but I guess it's more in the data warehouse sphere now, and data lake sphere.
And if you don't know that there's systems for doing this, somebody says, all right, I want this, see this data here? I want it over here, and I want this other data over here. You just build it yourself with code.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. So it's hard to know that you need a system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is that few devs are confident in designing complex database schemas.
Yeah, once you get over 100 tables, it gets messy.
It's a whole different ballgame. Also, most devs are confident in relational DBs, but they're not really that experienced in document DBs and some of those less common database structures.
They will.
Additionally, there were some devs that were interested in pursuing Azure certs, so I'd encourage them to go and do that. It's definitely valuable.
Alrighty, I think that's a good wrap. Gives you a bit of an idea. Let's jump into the next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this was when we decided to ask them, let's talk about SQL versus NoSQL. So let's go and have a look at the rule that they had to read. So this was the right job for the right tool for the right job, and it's either SQL or NoSQL. Okay. So then there's the pros of SQL databases and the cons, and then the pros and cons of NoSQL databases. And let's have a look at the comments. Piers, any good comments here?
Yeah, Brian had a great one right there.
Oh, right. Okay. So one reason to choose NoSQL can be cost and simplicity. Cosmos DB in particular gives you a super simple geo-replication with a single checkbox, but they all have their different use cases. So what he's referring to is if you set up your database for, say, the Australian market, but you do a marketing campaign in New York, you don't want to have an expensive marketing campaign and to get Australian-like latency. So you check on the checkbox, it's instantly fast in New York, and you're up and running.
Yeah, it's easy to roll out across the globe, and that's why it's important to make sure you always consider the use case for what you're implementing.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's something definitely you can't do in SQL. What's another?
I think Ant.
Ant. Okay.
Tom, that is.
Okay. Like the rules, I've got some experience with SQL, Dynamo, Realm, and Mongo. One of the main disappointments for me when I started learning NoSQL was the tight coupling between the way you store your data and your ability to query it. No wonder they are fast. In order to properly design a NoSQL database, you need to have a clear understanding of the use cases. Yeah, excellent.
And then we had Harry.
Okay, Harry.
This is Harris. Yeah,
There
Harry.
we go.
There we go.
I spent a fair bit of time with MongoDB, which is NoSQL, for personal projects and found it to be very easy to use. However, I sometimes encounter a couple of pitfalls in comparison to structured data. I'd love a greater understanding of the benefits and drawbacks of using NoSQL versus SQL. Okay, hungry for knowledge.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that actually a lot of people had experience with these kind of data projects in personal or university projects, but just not so much in the real world.
Yeah, sure. Any others?
Yeah, we've got Marks, which is good.
Good, yes, okay. There he is. I am loving the focus on data and databases. Such an important concept to understand whether you're working with the core database or you're just interacting with it. Yep, excellent.
Cool.
Now, I can't tell you how many times being at a client, working on the project, but because clients don't have a good understanding of the need for warehouses and data lakes as well. So
let alone databases.
Yeah, that's right. All right, that's that?
And Drew.
Oh, Drew, okay. DHR, there we go. I think we need to keep doing hands-on practice with SQL because Link is always easy to use and nobody really knows what's the actual query statement. Also, we should consider using MongoDB for large-scale enterprise applications. It makes sense to handle more traffic with less latency. Excellent, yes. And here's the reason why people don't understand that SQL that well these days. Because if you're using C# and Link, all the SQL is hidden from you. And if you do look at it, the SQL that C# generates for you I don't know. That's not meant to be read by a human in a lot of cases. Like it's a mess. And that would just say, I don't want to read that because you didn't write it. So it's not that easy to read. All right, let's go and have a look at the results of this. Now, you've had a look through it. What's your summary?
Yeah, I've got some notes here. So many devs are experienced with SQL databases, and then they're less and less experienced with document, key value, graph, and vector databases.
Yes.
In that order.
Yes.
So that's kind of interesting to note. I guess makes sense. We're mostly bread and butter is relational databases. What are your thoughts?
Well, exactly what I was expecting. If you have a look at these results, you'll see most people enjoyed the video, liked the rule, and then they've answered here that which you can clearly see from this graph, that SQL is their strong one, and those other four you just mentioned are weaker.
For sure. And now we also found that SSMS is still by far the most popular tool for querying databases.
Okay, all right, let me just fly down to that one. That's a good one. Here, this one. So here we go. Look how popular this one is over Azure Data Studio and other IDEs, because there's one, this one's from, where's the JetBrains one, which is quite good. It's only got 5 users.
I think SSMS is just so fully featured that it's hard to beat.
Yeah,
really.
that's right.
Yeah. Now, the next point is that devs are really keen to use JSON columns in SQL Server.
Oh, that's the hot tip that was here. So see this tip here. Just to show you that. So there's this this little tip here that you gave the devs. Let's see what they said. They didn't know about it primarily, but you can see almost 40 love it. Love that they learnt it. They want to try it out.
For sure.
So let's talk about the third week of data training, where we're talking about data warehouses now. And we have a video and rule and some questions to ask them. Let's jump through to the rule first. The thing is this one about a data warehouse. There's a bit of a video on here to watch a data warehouse. If they want a much more advanced one, specifically about Fabric, there is this link here as well, which is not embedded, it's just a link. And when should you use a data warehouse, when should you not? And let's talk about this example where you have this database and whether you should make a data warehouse because you need to work out how to query across multiple pieces of data here, okay? All right, let's go and have a look at the results, Piers. You've already had a bit of a look at these results, haven't you? So,
Yeah, I've got some notes actually.
Okay, can you to me?
So most devs have never worked with data warehouses on client projects. So this is starting to be really unfamiliar territory for them.
Okay, let me have a look at the results. You can see that not a lot of people were in love with watching this data warehouse video, but they like the rule about it. And have you used data warehouse client work? Is that right?
That's right. That's the question we're looking at.
And what's the results?
Well, you can see most devs have not used data warehouses on client projects.
Right. Okay. All right. Some have created data warehouse. Don't you find this graph a bit hard to read?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, that one. I'm actually not a big fan of it. It looks nice when you're filling out the questions, but when you see the results, you're like, this is not actually that useful, is it?
No.
It's better for some questions, I think, but
Okay.
it's more like when if I want to compare things on this line,
Yes.
and in this thing, we're not really trying to compare things on the line. We're trying to compare these different things.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk. Got some results of this star schema.
Yeah. Lots of devs had never heard of star schema or Snowflake schema, which makes sense because they're the bread and butter data warehouse concepts.
Yeah. They don't know that. They don't know much about it. So
that's right.
And that's the majority in the blue line. But they know a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, they've heard about it in passing. All right.
And there was a lot of confusion as well about whether an invoice would be a fact or a dimension.
Okay.
And you can see the results for that one are all over the place.
All right, so let's have a look here. If they can't answer this correctly, they don't know much about it. All right, so what are we seeing here? Definitely make it a fact. I definitely make it a dimension. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'd be making it definite if I'm that unsure. Okay. So, probably, right, okay. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems there.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because it's really a different way of thinking about how you design the database. You can't really think in the same manner of like, oh, this is an entity and another entity. It's about how are you going to be querying that data from the database.
Yes, and for your information, a invoice should be a fact table.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So the next point is that most people knew they should talk to Bryden and Mehmet for data. And some people said Luke C, but he told me definitely don't talk to me.
Okay, all right. Now, I might just look at, yes, you can see that most of these tools, they have not used very much of this. But Synapse is the most popular one in our company. Look at this result in 12 months' time. This Synapse or Fabric stuff will be there'll be a lot of experience in it.
Yeah, it's important to note there that some of the older tools are actually very, very popular. Probably because they've been used historically for this kind of stuff, like SQL Server as a warehouse.
Right.
Now, a few devs had built products that would have been better suited to a data warehouse, which is quite interesting to find out.
Okay.
Yes.
So is this one?
No, it's further down. Yes, it is this one. Sorry.
So, have you ever worked on a project which, in hindsight, would have been better solved with a data warehouse? Those 9 results are telling. So we've invested. Basically, they've written a lot of code they probably didn't need to write.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I might look at the results here, Piers, because I know a long time ago you proposed a solution. So I'm interested. Where's your comment, sir? So here's the architecture we came up with. We essentially rolled our own data warehouse infra, but we needed a real-time web app. In retrospect, I'm sure there was a data solution better suited to this. You can see the architecture we had here. So tell us about this.
Yeah, so basically what we had was we had a SQL database, and then we had like 15 Azure functions, and they would all do ETL processes into the SQL database. So it's essentially a data warehouse, but without the data warehouse.
And I bet you didn't know ETL then, or you would have Googled it.
I kind of knew of it, but I didn't really know what it meant practically or anything like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You're right. So you rolled your own with Azure functions.
That's right.
Would have been a lot more dollars for Microsoft.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Any other results here?
No, I think that's the main points covered.
Okay, beautiful. Let's move on to the last one. The last one was awesome. This is all about almost a brand new concept for every engineer, all about data lakes. And we had a cool video here and a rule here. And I think the video was phenomenal. Did you think it was excellent?
Yeah, I think that might be the best video we had in the whole series.
Right.
It was long, but it was just really valuable.
Right.
If you haven't watched the full thing, I really recommend you do it.
Okay, so the concept is you got data everywhere, you throw it into a lake, and this video walks through it. It is excellent. And we talk about the characteristics, store now, analyze later, data swamps, okay, a mess. I think we'll be dealing with a lot of data swamps that we want to clean up in the future. And then there is a scenario here where you've got data everywhere in different systems. What type of questions might you want to do? And what are the options in building a lake? All right, so that's awesome. Alrighty, let's have a look at the results from this form. And you can see, we were right, that video is crazy popular. It's very popular. And the video helped explain use cases of data lakes and its differences to a data warehouse. And that is it's a very strong result. Read the rule. Well, the rule is not as popular as the video. And the video shows some of the technologies used in big data environments. Have you used any of these? And Kafka is the more popular one. And thinking about future CTFs, have we answered all the questions? I've got some questions there. Now, after you've done these 4 forms and read all these rules, has your interest in data increased? And they didn't say a little, they said a lot. That's a very strong improvement in their learning there. That's great.
And that's good because we need more data engineers as well.
Yeah, the world does. Yes.
So,
all right, now let's go back to the rule, because on that rule, there was a bit of a question here of a scenario. So imagine you work at Northwind. They've got all these different systems like, a DevOps system, billing, timesheets, invoices, a CRM with all their projects and the clients and leads and accounting. Could be Xero or MYB or something, and then some automation logs of people coming in and out of the office or whatever, websites, etc. So what cool question could you ask? And how many systems would you be interacting with? And what do you need for this? Do you need a data lake or just a warehouse? Let's have a look. Now, do you have any idea what the cool answers were here?
Yeah, so I'm going to start out and just give you a broad overview of what people thought.
Okay.
So there's a few ideas that came up commonly through different people. So one of those is the dollar cost of every pull request or PPI.
Wow.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine showing that to a client.
Yeah.
Another one was employee productivity versus working hours. So start, leave times, working location, etc.
Yes.
Reminds me a little bit of your SSW time band.
Yes, which was a joke. Released on April Fool's, by the way.
And then we've got user engagement of a feature/product/page versus the dev effort spent to implement it.
Let's say it again.
User engagement of a feature or a product or a page versus the dev effort spent to implement it.
Oh, wow. We need like usage ops or something.
Yeah, this is really where data scientists come in. They come in and like, answer all these questions for us.
Well, you'd have to be storing it.
Yeah,
first,
that's right.
And you'd have to be measuring how much the feature cost and having a feature flag or, some telemetry for that.
And then the next one was forecasting future development work based on specific tech stacks and the trend of those tech stacks.
Do you have an example?
Well, you can look at my comment because this was mine.
Oh, was it? Oh, promoting yourself. All right.
Yes, I love to promote myself. What can I say?
Okay, a cool question. I like to compare client projects. Okay, so you've got the technology, what was billed, the number of projects, and the dollar bill per project. Then I would like to analyze the trend of this over time. So you'd see that React was growing or shrinking. Then we could analyze which projects are delivering the most value. How many systems, or just a couple? And I'm going to guess you only need data warehouse for yours, don't you?
I guess it depends on the volume and the scale of our operations, as well as how extensive our reporting system is planned to be.
Well, it depends whether you need any unstructured, or other stuff that's not in the warehouse, but all that stuff would be in the warehouse.
If we were to use SSW as an example, we'd get away with a data warehouse, or maybe even just what we've got at the moment, which is nothing.
All right.
And then the final one that came up quite commonly was, what common characteristics do our long-term and short-term clients have? So as an example, if we have a developer and he has a client and he has another client and he has a third client and those clients all leave after one job, compared with another developer and they have a client and that client stays with them for 3 years, we can see those kind of statistics.
Yeah, it'd be tricky because the developer is either sticky because he's awesome or the client is someone that just doesn't let go of someone. So it'd be very hard to, that'd be hard, but possible. Yes, look at this.
Yeah, John's got an awesome comment.
This is hilarious. Feels Big Brother, but look at this. Bathroom breaks per day per Git commit. So he wants to put a sensor on the toilet.
I reckon he has seen your time band video.
Okay. The dollar value per employee per Git commit. Okay. The sugar learning items completion correlation with employee chargeability. That's funny. Wow. How many systems? All of them. And what do you need? Both. Because in order to answer predefined questions, we need the data warehouse. In order to stimulate inspiring and boost innovation, we need a data lake. Yeah, you kind of, if you want to have a data scientist and you want to have insights into stuff you don't know what you could have insights, you need a data lake. All right. Is there any other cool bits and pieces?
Yeah, Penny had some cool comments, actually.
Yes. I'd love for us to have a data lake warehouse. We could get some amazing analytics out of it and really revolutionize our Power BI. Bring some of the ideas is so inspiring. There's so many things we could do with it. I really love learning about data. My biggest Brisbane-based client is a massive data project, and I've enjoyed learning more about it. I feel like I can speak a little more about it now.
Yeah, and I actually heard that a lot from account managers. They were really excited to learn more about how data sort of works so they could then, talk to their clients about data and understand their problems better.
Okay. So, Piers, that's a really nice way to finish. You've got Penny, who is an account manager, non-technical, just as interested in all this data stuff as the engineers. I think this has been a really nice journey over the last 4 weeks where the developers have learnt, and these developers just generally like code, learn about relational, NoSQL, data warehouses, data lakes, and all that good stuff ready for Microsoft Fabric. Yeah, it's been awesome, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. And there's actually a great movie, Moneyball, which walks people through how this applies in the real world.
Yes. Moneyball. Yes. If you want to get into stats, yes, great film, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's not even a data engineer. He's just an economist that's using data. But
Yes.
it really shows you the impact it can have.
So with that, thank you very much, Piers. It's been wonderful. And this is Adam Cogan signing off for SSW TV.